I don't like it. No, Oxy, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't see Oxy making it through this, but what a fantastic episode. I hate the cliffhanger ending, and I don't like the fact that it all signs are pointing to the Oxy probably dying right here. I don't see Novak losing. I think there's way too much that they have to do with Novak's character. And yes, unfortunately, this episode felt like a really nice, like, climax point for Oxy's character. Like, just an absolutely incredible way of wrapping him up, inspiring Badini in some way. Once again, it's been a while. Passing that baton off to Badini to say this is how he should look at things before he walks off into the sunset. And I hate it. I hate it. If you asked me last episode who I was going to think was going to end up dying with Novak confronting the two of them, I thought it was going to be Badini. I thought Badini was going to die and he was going to pass off his information to Oxy, despite the fact that he didn't want that. And Oxy was going to take it to somebody else. But again, they essentially took Badini's character and evolved it in a really interesting way. With Oxy and Badini in this episode, they really got into a really cool concept that I love. The idea of how science can sometimes, for a lot of scientists and scholars, can turn into a religion. And the idea that they have this belief that this theory is correct, and they won't let anybody question it. And if you question it, you're a heretic. You can't question this. It's science. And it goes into the same realms as religion, where you're not supposed to criticize that. Like he says it in this episode, he's like, literally, the heretic will question the religion, and that's, that changes things there. And then you have right here, these two theories are questioning each other. The theory that you had before and this new theory, they're questioning each other. That's a good thing. It's a good thing that things be questioned. And this is something that Oxy has been observing for a while. And it's sort of indicating this might be what Badini was seeing in his writing. In the writing of Oxy, he was questioning things, and I think that Badini was liking that. I don't know. They still haven't got into what exactly he was writing about, but it's really cool stuff. And again, it could also just be simply the idea that Badini liked his writing, despite the fact that he didn't want to accept it. And even this episode, it does kind of give that sense that Badini is sort of acknowledging what his writing is, and almost getting in that realm where Oxy is proving to him that somebody that is a commenter, that is not like somebody that has, studied in a university or anything like that, could still have really good thoughts, could still have clever and interesting thoughts. It really is a proving of that. Oxy has proven so much to Badini's character. And again, in a single episode, they've managed to make me believe, okay, no, we're not done with Badini's character. We are not done with his character. And yes, unfortunately, it feels like we've wrapped up Oxy's character. I know. Oxy could beat Novak. The writer could possibly not have anything set for Novak's character, but I just don't think Novak is definitely going to kill Oxy if he can. He literally made it personal. That's like when they first arrived up there, it was literally surrender. I'm not surrendering, kill him. Like, he didn't even hesitate. There was no hesitation there. There's no, knock him out, take him down or whatever, restrain him. No, it was kill him. Simply just fire. No hesitation whatsoever. Very interesting. But still, I don't like it. Don't like it, but it's going to happen. But we'll see. We'll see. But like I said, really incredible episode. Episode 12 was a really fantastic episode. Let's just do like we usually do, go through the entire thing, opening up the episode with, yes, Novak confronting them. And yes, kind of to my theory, the idea of it possibly being regards to Grabowski. So he said that they got a letter. They don't know who it is, but somebody sent them a letter tipping them off that he found a book that was in this location and it had a code in it. And the code itself said something to the effect of this new theory about the universe. And so again, all signs are pointing to this being Grabowski. Grabowski found Piast's book, and it seems like Piast himself was putting a code in his writing, and Grabowski figured it out or had somebody figure it out, which led to this. Which makes sense because, again, Grabowski was trying to look into stuff as well, and he probably found that code and got really intrigued and wanted to figure it out. But he ratted him out. And as Novak is looking into it, he ends up running into Jolenta and then sees that there's these two guys involved with her that are looking into astronomy, and he's checking it out. And again, it kind of gets that indication later on of like, these guys with their heretical ideas have confronted my daughter. It's personal. I'm taking him out. Again, really cementing the idea that he's obviously going to be very protective of his daughter. He doesn't want his daughter to get involved with heretical ideas, even though he is supporting her and her desire to stand out as a woman. He's not okay with the idea of somebody implanting, heretical ideas in her, or even to bring her down along with them when she's just trying to do her work. But yeah, they go to the barn, checks everything out, and then he notices the orb. That is a thing that sets him off. That just sucks so bad. It's like this one thing they've been keeping around. And I'm sure, I have no doubts that Novak seen that and immediately knew what it was. Because again, this is something that was tied to Raphael. It was tied to Hubert. And yes, later on, it was tied to this guy that Oczy and Glass were actually involved with. So he's seen it a few times. I don't think there was really anything else in the room that would have tipped him off. The manga does indicate that Novak does know what's in the books. Like he's flipping through it and he's kind of making notes about different things that the book itself is talking about. And he's like, oh, that does that? That's interesting. So this is an indication, at least based on the manga, that Novak does have some knowledge about astronomy, which he should have to have some, because otherwise how could he find out what is heretical thought or not? If he's just flipping through books and going, I have no clue what it's talking about here, he would not know if it's something that is standard in the church or not. But yeah, I do think that there is a hint here that he probably was figuring something out, because even Bodini himself is like, get packed up and get ready to go. He doesn't say leave immediately, but he's like, at first, he's like, no, we should probably go. If they're sniffing around, it's bad. Like, no matter how you cut it, if the Inquisitors are in town and they're sniffing for something, they're going to keep sniffing, and eventually they're going to get wind of it. I would even argue, for Bodini's sake, I would even be thinking, okay, Jolenta might get involved. Jolenta might get involved, and that will lead back to us again, and that's not good. Even if I've covered my tracks, there's going to be a piece somewhere, and if they're sniffing around, get the hell out. But yes, once Oczy points out the necklace, he's like, okay, we're leaving now. He's like, literally, immediately go. Yeah, it is a little interesting that, yes, technically Novak walks out the door. They immediately start talking. He's like, oh, well, about that necklace. Oh, we're leaving immediately. And by the time they're ready to go, Novak is back with a carriage. Novak ran. I guess Novak technically, he probably took a horse. I mean, they probably all arrived there on a horse or something. I didn't see any horses, but gosh dang, Novak hauled butt back to town, jumped on a carriage, got the guys going, and they were like right back immediately. Now, technically, they could have been following him. I don't know. But either way, it seems like whatever they dispatched for Novak wasn't any competent people, but it is what it is. And it sort of does kind of in this episode point out the difference between what Novak is, which again is a previous mercenary who has not only killed, but has faced death before, whereas your typical Inquisitor is just, straight out of the pews, going out into the streets and, brandishing a sword with their authority. But now, going back, this is where we get two conversations that I thought were absolutely fantastic. I think that first conversation with Bodini, he's burning all the books. Oczy comes over there, mentions the idea that it gives an indication that he doesn't like that he's burning the stuff. Again, because from Oxy's perspective, he has been dealing with a whole bunch of people, including the heretic, including Glass, these are people that were all passing this baton. They all had their research, these things that they believed in, these things that made them love being on Earth, these things that were drawing them away from their desire for the heavens and just wanting the desire for the Earth itself. It was creating their hope for the Earth itself. So it makes sense that after he's seen so many people die for the sake of that information, this has sort of inspired him over time to care for that information. Wait, you're burning all these books and whatnot that were passed down from these other individuals. And additionally, you're also talking about the idea of burning your own work. That's not good. It should be passed on to the next person so they can scrutinize it and take it. I love the fact that Bodini doesn't shut him down. There's like 2 points throughout this episode where Bodini, you would think that he was going to shut down Oczy. Like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not smart. But no, he's actually like, he turns to Oczy and says, no, tell me. He's actually very open-minded to what Oczy thinks. And again, this is Bodini, who believes that Oczy shouldn't learn things. He's not smart. He even points it out several times this episode that you're not that smart. You shouldn't be seeking out this stuff. You're not knowledgeable. You're not learned. You're not a scholar or anything like that. He keeps turning to him for his opinion. I think this is something that's inspired within Bodini through his reading of Oczy's work. Again, I think he's seen that Oczy's a very smart person, or at least very observant, and so he does want his opinion. Again, shows how much Bodini has changed throughout the last few episodes, at least from his perspective of Oczy. But no, then it starts getting into that thing that I said before that I find myself truly fascinating. The idea of how a lot of belief in different scientific theories and a lot of different models about the universe and whatnot is predicated on this idea of faith. It's all predicated on this idea of belief. And yes, technically what the church is currently using, the models they're currently using, is all found around the idea of the written word itself, and the idea that we are the sin of the universe and that everything else is around us, that God has built all this stuff and this amazing stuff around us, and even as Oxy has kind of put it, the idea that we are at the bottom of everything and the heavens are above us, and there can't be any other thought process there. The idea of what they're looking into right now of Earth itself moving puts it into the idea that we are swimming amongst, basically swimming amongst the heavens themselves, and that's something that you shouldn't be believing in. It is getting into the idea of even Badeni's theory that he has right now, he doesn't want questioned. He doesn't want somebody scrutinizing it. It is my research. I don't want anybody else to have it. I'm going to burn it if I can't produce it myself and publish it myself. Again, he told Oxy that. If something happens to me, burn my stuff. I don't want anybody else to have it. Again, Oxy himself believes that it should be given out to other people. You should let other people inside. Stop isolating yourself because you're basically going to become a religion. I like that idea that you're literally going to turn what you're doing here into religion. You don't want anybody else to look at it. Why not? Because you're creating faith out of it. You're creating a religion out of it. And I get that sense a lot whenever I look into a lot of scientific theories and whatnot. Sometimes it gets in this realm where why can't people question what you're looking into? Why can't somebody question this idea? Shoot, get in the flat earth. Why can't you question the idea of there being a flat earth? Yes, there's a lot of models and a lot of proof that it's not, but I'm still in the mindset that why can't it be questioned on that idea? As far stretched it is and how disproven it is, you can still question things. It's always good to question everything. It gets in that whole realm of like what separates us from Piast. When we confronted Piast, we were questioning his theory, but he allowed us in. He actually allowed us in and had that questioned. That's a good thing. It was really cool. And again, I like the fact that specifically right here, Badeni is saying, no, tell me. No, tell me. He's opening up his mind to what Oxy has to say, despite the fact that he has spent so many times really pointing out how unlearned Oxy is, how he is a commoner, how he shouldn't learn to read or write because he could write bad things. It's really cool stuff. This showed a massive growth in Badeni's character and his respect for Oxy, despite the fact that he always seems like a tsundere. I'm turning Badeni into a tsundere character. But even if he is opening his mind to him, he still sees sort of a threat in that. Like, Badeni's like, but that I understand you. I like the fact that he's like, I understand what you're saying. I just don't believe it. I don't want to follow it because it's too dangerous. Again, even though he is acknowledging what Oxy is saying here about the idea of not letting other people in and criticize his work, he's still afraid of it. Because if he does open it to anybody, if he does open up his research to others to scrutinize, it will fall back into the systems that he knows are so concrete. Again, Badeni is from the church. He has been in there. He sees how people, he lost his eye to it. He lost his eye to the idea of reading something that says something different than what the church wants. He was screaming to his higher up where he was working, you guys, everybody else is figuring out this other stuff, and we're going to get left behind. The church is going to get left behind, and we're going to get snuffed out. He wanted to find the truth before some heretic did, and the church gets left behind. He wanted to figure it out. So I can see him, yes, acknowledging that if he lets people in, they're going to immediately snuff him out. No, that's not true. Because all these scriptures and stuff, and you're a heretic, snuff it out. He knows it's dangerous to let anybody else in that will produce falsities into his work. He's dead set on the idea that my theories here are correct, and if I let anybody else in, they're going to put bad stuff in there. I don't want errors in my work. But yeah, anyhow, that's when Novak shows up. That's when Novak shows up, and yes, they don't have much time to get out of there. And the moment that Oxy comes around and says, but wait, your letter, and I'm like, yeah, you guys gotta get out of here. You ain't got time to write a letter. And yes, like I said before, that was totally flagged back there when he said that before they went off to see Yolanda. I'm like, I know he's not gonna get a chance to write that letter. And sure enough, when Oxy says how much time you need, I'm like, no. I know where we're going with this. The moment he said how much time you need, I'm like, he's going to pick up that sword, isn't he? Yeah, he's going to pick up that sword. He's going to go out there and try to... he's dead. Oxy's dead. I don't like this. I don't know. Oxy could beat him because this is their second fight. Oxy lost last time. Maybe Oxy will win this time. Maybe that'll be the big shocker there, is that this time Oxy has something to fight for. So it could technically make a really good message here in the idea of now that Oxy has something to fight for, he will win. But everything points that Novak just has way too much of his character that still has to go. I mean, Novak could lose and just get knocked out or badly wounded and then comes back in later on. I don't know. Either way, Oxy has to get the hell out of there. Oxy has to get the hell out of her. But again, really, really cool conversation here between Oxy and Badeni. Badeni doesn't understand why he would do this. It doesn't make any sense. He's going to get condemned to hell, basically. Like, you don't understand. By picking up that sword and going out there against those Inquisitors, you're condemning yourself to hell. You're going against the church. And that's, again, something that's deeply ingrained in their mind. The idea of going against the church is just wrong. Even though they're doing all this stuff and they're looking to stuff that's possibly heretical, again, from Badeni's mindset, and it seems like it's rubbed off on Oxy, they know the truth, and the truth is a good thing for the church and God, but the church hasn't accepted it yet. So he's essentially going to go against the church, and that's still an idea of being almost condemning himself to hell. Why would you do that for my research? You're a commenter. You don't understand this stuff. I love that brief pop over there to that flashback before Piast died, and the idea of this is what it's like when you learn something. That feeling that Oxy had when he seen Venice. It was just like that, bam. I learned something new, something I could never imagine could happen before. But again, I think that because of what Oxy has gone through with the heretic, with Glass, now with Badeni, now with everything they've researched so far, Piast, all this stuff has all really kind of ingrained upon Oxy this idea of this hope for what is here. This hope for discovering something. And yes, that feeling of discovering something. He truly believes, based on his observations, that what Badeni is looking into, what Glass loves seeing so much, what all these individuals seen so much, is something that he wants to aspire for too. Something that has inspired him at this point to want to protect it. He's essentially becoming Glass. He's essentially becoming that heretic. Dying for the sake of passing on that information, that knowledge, and yes, that hope for the earth that they're on. It's super cool stuff. And yes, him doing the prayer for him as he walks out the door is like, oh my gosh, dude. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I don't like this at all. Really good stuff. But yeah, we had a brief scene of Novak coming up there with his new recruits. Yeah, you're not ready to die. They've sent me the worst. None of these guys in this cart's going to be useful for me. Yes, getting into the idea of what it's like to be a mercenary versus these just randos off of the pews. This idea that you're ready to fight. You say that you have this duty, but there's a difference between that and individual will. When it comes to being face to face with somebody else, it comes down to your desire to fight and, yes, put your life in danger. And, yes, the willingness for yourself to die. When you face somebody, you can take a life, sure. These Inquisitors were set. We can slash down random people on the streets and call them a heretic. But when you face somebody that can pick up that sword and look at you without fear, everything changes. Sure enough, we see that. This guy literally falls on his own sword. He literally falls on his own sword. Just rough. And Novak's response to it's like, oh gosh, dude. It's like, what can he do? Like, what can he do? This poor young chap just wasn't ready for this and probably never would have been. But no, the bigger part of that whole conversation again was how he's taking this very personally. And again, I kind of seen this happening. And again, my theories way a long time ago, the moment that we met Yolenta, was that I assumed that eventually he was going to get word that Yolenta was involved with somebody that is doing heretical thought, or she herself is, and he's going to go out of his way to protect her, possibly against the church. But right here is more pointing at the idea that he just doesn't like the fact that these two guys were bringing that to her, and that she could have been pulled into it. He's protecting his daughter. So a different way to kind of take it than I was originally thinking, but still kind of falls in that same realm, which does make me think that even though Oxy goes down, if Oxy goes down, he's going to be hunting for Badeni. Like, even if Badeni gets out of here and goes southwest, I think Novak is going to be on his trail. Like, he's literally going to hunt him down. He ain't going to let Badeni go. But we'll see. I'm curious to see what happens the next episode. I'm not looking forward to it. I don't want Oxy to die. Again, I can see this going a few ways. The one that I think is most likely is that Oxy's just going to die. Like, Novak's going to kill Oxy. Badeni will get enough time to write the letter. He's going to get down that tunnel. He's going to run out there. He's probably going to he possibly can get the letter to the church. Maybe at that point in the letter, he might actually tell people about his research and allow people to take it, and then he'll end up dying. and that might pass it on to the next person that will take on the torch at that point, or Badeni can get away and Novak goes chase him down. Oczy can get knocked out, and then Novak could take him and imprison him, and we'll get a brief segment of seeing Oczy essentially standing up against the church and wanting to not, recant. And yes, technically Oczy can take out Novak, and they can both get away, and at that point, maybe it turns into an idea that the recruits of Novak, the ones that he trained, end up taking up the baton from him and go to hunt down the ones that kill him. I don't see that likely, but it's a possibility. But we'll see. We'll see. Damn it, Grabowski. Damn it, Grabowski. Grabowski started it all. We'll see you guys next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button down below, comment, let me know what's the episode. If you're new here, subscribe before you leave. Like this content, you want to support the channel more, links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. Until next time, take care.